So welcome to the practical session of our Composting Made Simple. So the whole aim of this workshop is for you to be able to take your kitchen waste and then to be able to make compost, beautiful black gold, in a backyard bin pretty much like this. Now, taking your kitchen waste alone and putting it into the compost bin is not going to get you black gold, because it's not creating the right balance and ratio for life in the compost to exist. Basically, when we put this material in, it rots and it becomes very, very smelly, and it becomes a very unenjoyable activity, and we're not actually making black gold. So we need to be able to combine this with some other materials, and we'll talk about that in greater depth in compost number 2. But basically what we're going to use for this simple recipe is we're going to use straw, and we're going to use sugarcane mulch and mix it together with the kitchen waste to make the beautiful, perfect conditions, a suitable environment with diversity of food and with air and moisture for black gold, the process of black gold to begin. And finally, hopefully, what you're aiming for is beautiful material like this, which has come out of a backyard composter from me, just like this. Okay, so let's just talk about some of these materials quickly. So straw is just a wonderful material for making compost. Now, this is actually what's left over when they harvest rice or wheat in our country. And so basically this is a stalk that's left behind, so the header comes through, it cuts the grains of rice or wheat off, and this is literally the stalk that's left behind. Now, this is not meadow hay, it's not lucerne hay, we're just looking for straw. And of course, sugarcane mulch, I'm sure you're very, very familiar with, and that's basically a product that's left over after they squeeze out all the juices from the sugarcane. They dry this out, they cut it up into small bits, and it's another waste product from an agricultural industry, but it's a great product also for making compost. So how do we combine these materials? Okay, so we need to, it's a ratio. We're going to take 1 part of our kitchen waste, and then in total we need 3 more parts of these materials. So there could be 2 parts of the straw, and there could be 1 part of the sugarcane mulch, which is my preferred sort of method. But you could just put 3 parts of either of these, the straw or the sugarcane mulch, and that would still give you a pretty good result. But for me, diversity of food makes a better end quality of material, it's less maintenance, all these things are really good to take into consideration. And if you can afford the cost, this becomes a very, very simple operation for you to make a black gold in your home compost bin. Okay, so the other thing that's difficult to balance out is taking a material like straw or even the sugarcane mulch, getting the moisture into them. Like if you just take if we throw these all into a container and mix them up, which is what we're going to do, or we trying to throw them into our compost bin and for it all to happen and then pour water on the top, it's very hard for the water to actually soak in. So what I'd like to suggest is you do some pre-soaking, or you do it as you go. So I've just got a container here. A wheelbarrow is another great item that we can use to soak some material. I've got 1 part of our straw here, 1 part straw, to go with our kitchen waste, and I can just put it in here, and I've got just a little bit of water in the bottom of it, and I'm just stirring it through the water just to get a bit of moisture into it. And you can feel it changing already, you know. You can just, starts to drip. You can let it drip off a bit. Okay, so there's the 1 part. I'm actually going to put it into that container and mix it up. Okay, so I can feel the moisture in there already. And this is such a secret, such a simple thing, but such a great secret to making your compost be successful. Okay, I've got 1 portion of sugarcane mulch. I'm just going to pop that in there. I'm just going to give that a bit of a stir around. It's a bit more dusty, a bit harder to get some of the moisture in. Quite like the smell of the sugarcane mulch. Okay, I can feel that changing. The water starting to be soaked into there. And I'm just going to pop this down into this container. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get 1 more portion of the straw. Now with the straw, I've just cut the ties off it. What's also another little helpful thing is I've just got an old serrated knife, and I just cut the straw with the serrated knife into smaller sort of handfuls like this. So the straw is a bit shorter. It helps just the mixing process. So I'm just going to pop that in there. I've pre-cut this, and we're just going to loosely pop it in there to get your the last proportion. Now you could actually pre-soak this material if you wanted to, which means you could have a container like so with some water in it. You could get out your next 3 parts worth of, we call this carbon material or brown, dry and dead material, and just leave it in there just to mix around and soak before you even make the compost. So when you come down, the water is already soaking in there. Sometimes what we like to do, because we don't like to waste water, when you rinse out your kitchen caddy, as some people call them, you can actually use that water just to put in a container like this and then pre-soak your next lot of carbon material or straw and sugarcane mulch. Okay, so we've got 2 parts. This will be 2 parts straw, 1 part sugarcane mulch, and then we're going to have 1 part of our kitchen waste. Just going to get a bit of that last bit of moisture into the straw. Bit like making a cake, isn't it? Yes, cooking with nature. Making the perfect recipe to make black gold. Okay. So I'm letting just that drip out a little bit. Okay, I'm just going to put that aside for a second. Okay, so I've got my 2 lots of straw, 1 lot of sugarcane mulch. I could even give that a bit of a mix through. I am using bare hands, but if you're uncomfortable with this, of course, wear gloves. I've got some just over there. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put in kitchen waste, which I prepared earlier. 1 proportion of that. Beautiful. And thanks to my good friend Wade Everingham, he calls this the spaghetti bolognese method. And we just give it a good mix through. So we're getting kitchen waste mixed together with the straw and the sugarcane mulch. And this becomes our first deposit for our compost. So there it is, all mixed up. And you can just place that then inside your compost bin, tuck it in a corner, and then with your next lot, mix it all up, place it beside it in the bottom of the bin, and then the next one, you keep going around, filling up the holes from the base of the compost bin. Now, The reason we do this is every single little compost deposit has to be a balanced compost mini compost in its own right. So this combination of materials with the air and the moisture that we've trapped up in there will set in motion this unstoppable force of composting. There's bacteria everywhere, all on all these bits of straw, also on all the kitchen waste. There are all these organisms ready to start to break this down. Now, a final tip for this is if you've got some finished compost, you could literally sprinkle it over the top like so. And what this is, as you know, full of billions of microorganisms, which is like putting a seed of life into this material to kickstart the process. Don't worry if you don't have it. You could even use a little bit of a sprinkle of really nice vegetable or garden soil to do the same thing. This is especially helpful when you're beginning a new pile in the bottom of your home compost bin, because it'll seed it with this life and give it a great kickstart. Okay, just before we finish this little practical session, I'll just show you a few more tips that are really helpful. So to make things compost more quickly, it's better to reduce the size of them. So here we've got some pumpkin, and that's not a bad size for the compost. I've got, the bit where the seeds are. I would probably just get the knife in your kitchen and just run it through wherever my knife's gone. Just give that a quick chop, and just to reduce the size of it to about that sort of size. Also, the other things that I like to do is if you've got coffee left over, better to sprinkle that through rather than just put it in a big lump. So we get this diversity blended throughout the whole of the material. And also, citrus is a really good one. I always cut this up into smaller bits because this can cause some problems in the compost. So a little bit of citrus, no problem, but just cut it up into smaller bits. And just generally break other materials into smaller sizes. Makes the compost process speed up. So this bit around the pumpkin, I'd probably just break it up. Easier to do while you're doing food preparation in the kitchen. And what else have we got in here that's worth mentioning? We use a lot of paper towel, wiping out things, oils and stuff, cleaning stuff. So even breaking them up into smaller bits is a very helpful thing to do. Okay. And of course, broccoli or lettuce or things like that, cutting down into a smaller size is going to really help you. All right, I look forward to hearing your questions, and I hope that this has been clear for you and that you can become very successful at home making black gold in your standard backyard garden style compost bin. You're just using the kitchen waste out of your kitchen, and also just rice or wheat straw, and of course sugarcane mulch. Thanks very much.